to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
They're begging us. Please have a party. Feed us drinks. Get us laid. Ow!
Oh, beautiful for smoggy skies, insecticided grain, for strip-mined mountains, majesty above the asphalt plain. America, America, man sheds his waste on thee, and hides the pines with billboard signs from sea to oily sea.
It's just a coincidence that you were talking about the Jack and Triumph show, and I'm here.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Hey man, this is Kevin Smith, guy who makes all those unlistenable podcasts over at smodcast.com, and you're listening to the Two Strangers, One Podcast. This is Podcaster.
You're listening to Two Strangers, One Podcast. Subscribe to us on iTunes or on the Stitcher app for Android devices. Please visit twostrangersonepodcast.net. Now, here's Chris Cologne and Paul Pasquillo.
Well, hello and welcome to Two Strangers, One Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Paul.
And while Paul went to the bathroom, I took his phone and I took pictures of my dick.
Yeah, but see, those are supposed to be on there.
Welcome to all the new listeners. I kind of want this episode. I'm going to start spamming people again to listen to the podcast. Don't get me wrong. We have a wonderful, wonderful following. I love seeing all the downloads that show up whenever we put out a new episode. It's always like the first couple of days everyone downloads. I'm pretty sure everyone has it on their Stitcher or their iPhone or whatever. So, I'm going to start spamming people. So to all the new listeners, if somehow I spammed you, if I spammed you or if you came across this podcast because you heard our last episode, or at least the episode I did last with Sketch, or whatever the case may be, welcome to Two Strangers on Podcast. This is going to be episode 221. We've been doing this podcast. You've been part of this show for about 3 years now because I put up like a Facebook memory recently where I met Jody Schaefer, and that was right before you became part of the podcast. So that was about 3 years ago. And the show itself has been going on for a little more than 4 years. So you've been the co-host longer than the original co-host. So that's pretty awesome. So usually the format of the show is the first half of the show, we will talk about stuff that's kind of going on in our lives or going on in our world. And then the second half of the show will be the nerdy news.
So you're basically going to leave. That's fine.
And usually this is the part of the show where I bitch about my life or I complain about things that don't make me happy.
Bitch about your life?
All right. That's look. If I didn't have this podcast, that's the whole thing. Like, and actually, we're recording this. Usually, we're recording this on a Tuesday in the afternoon. We're recording this like Friday. Not after. Well, technically, it is afternoon. It's sort of right after. Yeah. But I'm supposed to be at work in half an hour, but that shit ain't happening. But but it's nice. Like I came in, like, I take a bath, get my balls nice and clean. There's a special pleasure about having a clean set of balls.
Thanks.
Hop in the car to drive to Paul's house, and it's like a nice day. I mean, don't be wrong. There's horrible things going on in the news, and we'll get to that in a second. But for the lack of a better term, I'm drinking my Java. I'm drinking, driving the weather's halfway decent. I got the windows rolled down in the car. I like it when the weather's nice like this, where I could actually not be a miserable prick for about 20 minutes. And driving to Paul's house and the weather's decent.
Prick? I didn't know that.
And the good thing is driving this time of day before traffic starts. So, actually getting across town where what should take 12 minutes or whatever, it's not taking 45 minutes. So, and of course I still found a way to end up being late anyway. I told Paul, I'll be there at noon. I'm there showing up at 12:10.
I'm already used to it, so whatever.
Always a day late and $1 short.
That's what she said.
The last episode I did with Sketch,
fucking cheater,
which is Sketch is the other co-host of Paul's other podcast, the Tsunami Faithful podcast.
Wait, did you say my podcast?
Isn't it your? It's your podcast. Okay. Well, Sketch is the co-host. No.
It's I just like to joke because sometimes he's like, oh, I'm not going to give up the podcast. I'm like, well, if I wanted you to, I could.
I'm changing all the passwords. Goddammit. But
I've done that before. No, that was the email actually.
And then the funny thing is, okay, so Sketch and I. Because he had reached out to me originally. We did an episode talking about Captain America: Civil War, and then he said, I think not on the actual podcast, but he's like, I'll be more than happy to come back and do one for Ninja Turtles to follow up on our 2014 episode, the late great turtle debate. So Sketch came on, and we had done, and now mind you, not that it was edited really, but I mean, you know, I kind of do a thing where I kind of take out all the empty silences and stuff like that. And that episode ended up being an hour and 45 minutes. There is another half an hour that we recorded before the actual episode, before episode proper, where we were talking about Ninja Turtles. And part of me was like, I could edit this into the show and ask Sketch if he doesn't mind if I put it into the show, but the show was already an hour and 45 minutes. I think that was the length of the fucking Ninja Turtles movie. So I was like, you know what? Let me just leave it before the show. So, you know, or maybe one day I'll put it out there if we have if it's a week that's like really slow or whatever, maybe I'll put in, because it's literally me and Sketch. And it's one of those deals where like you're having the conversation and it's going so smooth, and I'm like, God damn it, we should save that for the show. So, with that, and then I tell Sketch, I'm like, okay, this was awesome. Thank you for, you know, it was his idea to do the Civil War. Then he said he wouldn't mind doing Ninja Turtles. Then I said, oh great, this can be a thing on the weeks that I don't record with Paul. Maybe we could do a show talking strictly about movies. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you want to come back and do World of Warcraft or maybe even Ghostbusters? No. And he said, nah, no, thank you. So I guess that's not going to happen. You know, we could talk about, well, in the second half of the show, we'll talk about how World of Warcraft is actually doing pretty good in China now.
Yeah, it's doing okay here, but it's not doing what they thought. It's kind of funny, and we'll get into this a little bit more, but one thing that I wanted to talk about is the fact that sometimes when we get movies at the theater, they send us like promotional stuff to give out. They sent us a bunch of World of Warcraft, it's a free video game thing. Not like the whole video game. I think it's like a...
Oh, it's probably like a thing. I had friends of mine. It's like probably like a code to get your like...
Yeah, I think it's a code to get something special or something. I don't know. But, or it's a free trial for it, maybe.
Yeah, like a free month or something.
But like we have like 7 or 8 cases of this. And I'm sitting there going... This movie's not that popular.
We literally can't give it away. You might as well...
Here's the problem that I've been seeing, too, and it's something that I think movies... not movie theaters, but... Because the movie theaters, obviously, we play the movies, but I don't think we necessarily set the dates for when these movies come out. Mm-hmm. So, I kind of think that these movie studios need to start looking at some of these summer movies and moving them back, because the problem is that you get these movies like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, for example. Mm-hmm. It is doing okay, but it probably would have done a lot better if it was, say, July 1st. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Captain America Civil War, I foresee that doing... It probably would have done a lot better. Now, let me stop there. It did really, really well in the theater, but I think it would have done a lot better if it was later in the summer. But you understand what I'm talking about. Like,
yeah. Well, those not for nothing, Captain America, and along with the Iron Man movies, always seem to come out right around Memorial Day weekend. They're always sort of like the kickoff summer movie. I mean, of course, this is bordering on the nerdy news stuff, but we could kind of talk about it. It's so like I can remember even like Iron Man came out like May 2008. So like I think Marvel kind of likes to have that first like start the summer blockbuster. Because what else? What else? No, is Guardians of the Galaxy is next year. What they don't have? What the fuck does Marvel have? Oh no, is Doctor Strange? No, Doctor Strange is next year also, right?
No, I think Doctor Strange is this year.
Is this year? Okay, so I think Doctor Strange will probably be... That's going to be like the sleeper hit. The same way Guardians of the Galaxy was like the sleeper hit.
I think that one's in November.
But that's... I mean, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's
they put out the blockbuster, and of course, these are fucking Disney movies. They're all meant to be blockbusters. But like, Guardians of the Galaxy sort of like snuck up on people, and I think they're going to do that with Doctor Strange. This is going to be like... we know you're gonna love it. We know it's gonna it's probably gonna do better the second weekend just because, word of mouth is gonna get out and everyone's like, holy shit, have you seen this movie? But, so I think, so Captain America Civil War, is going to was like the early start the summer blockbuster. I mean, what do they have this year, 4th of July? You know what I'm saying? What, Independence Day 2 or some shit like that? I mean, what,
Independence Day, yeah.
I can't think, it's sad that I can't
think. No, it comes out this Friday, so...
well...
But, I mean, I hate to say it, I think that movie is $1 too short, so to speak.
Day late, $1 short?
I mean, we could talk about that a little bit later, but I mean, it's...
And we got Suicide Squad, and that's not that it's Marvel, but I'm saying we got Suicide Squad coming up. I do have to admit, thank God, like, between Captain America, Deadpool, Suicide Squad, I mean, Jesus Christ, we're getting so many good movies. Even the bad ones, like Batman v Superman,
I'm looking forward.
I still
to,
liked.
I'm looking forward the most to Star Trek and the only reason I'm looking forward to it is this is kind of like the first time that this universe, because remember this is an alternative. This is alternative universe. No,
it's like another timeline. It's
a different timeline because this isn't the normal one that we've seen.
Yeah, because they had Leonard Nimoy in the first one, sort of letting us know that
the first one was obviously him getting the ship. So, but it was a different way of how he got the ship because the whole timeline changed.
Well, that's the whole thing is, but they brought in Leonard Nimoy to kind of let us know alternate
universe. But then like the thing that I'm most looking forward to is seeing, because in the previews what they've shown is obviously the Enterprise is destroyed, but then they're using this other ship, and the other ship, and I'm wondering if this is bringing in the actual series Star Trek Enterprise, the NX class, which is, people argue that's experimental, like NX stands for experimental, but in the Star Trek universe. But to me, like if you've watched the series, and some of you should watch Star Trek Enterprise, it's on Netflix right now. There's the first Enterprise was this. It was nothing, nothing like the Constitution class starship that we see, both in the movie and in the original series, and the movies before. So I would suggest that you guys watch that before you watch this movie, because I'm waiting to see what this ship is all about. Because I'm like, why did they have this ship?
Well, because I mean, when you have like the Constitution class, and this is all nerdy news. We should save this for the second half of the show.
Up. I haven't seen you in a while.
But but I think you know what it is. It's like sort of having like Superman in a movie. Yeah. The Constitution class is this big fucking warship. Not warship. That's not the proper word I'm using. But I'm saying it's the big mamma jamma.
Right.
And these are in the new rebooted Star Trek universe, these are all rookies, for the lack of a better term. Okay, yeah, they've had a couple of good adventures and they're sort of earning their stripes. But you're not gonna have these new jacks fucking in a big giant. It kind of helps if you stick them on a little rinky-dink experimental ship, and then you could always have like, oh well, maybe it'll bend time, maybe it'll go faster than warp, or maybe they'll have more problem. There's more issues. Instead of having like the granddaddy fucking flagship of the fucking Federation, you give them this little shitty ship. So there's more opportunities for adventures and stuff like that.
There's an opportunity here to definitely like do something good with it, and I'm not saying that they wouldn't, but it's one of those things where you're just like, okay, it's interesting to see what's going on here. I kind of want to see more and see how this develops, because I think that it's going to be. It looks like it's going to be really good, and I'm very happy to see that.
And I wonder if there's any tie-in whatsoever with the new Star Trek series, because kind of CBS is doing like its own version of Netflix,
right.
like it's doing its own.
They said apparently.
Like, is this tied into the old series?
They said that the new series wasn't going to be tied into this.
Is this in the future? Is this the past? And it's sad
because
you gotta remember, I should know this. I'm a Star Trek fan, but I have done no homework on the new series.
I think what'll happen is, and this is just my thought process, the only relation that this is going, the actual TV series is going to be to Star Trek, is that it's going to be set in this universe. Just because it's supposed to be a whole new adventure. So it's going to be a new starship. It's going to be.
You say this universe as in
like this alternate universe that they're.
The movies universe.
Right. You'll still probably have Kirk. You'll still probably have the Enterprise, but this is how it is. And and we'll finish this and then we'll move on.
We'll move on to the actual.
We'll move on to some actual
out news. Of the nerdy news.
I'm wondering if this will actually be like, remember Wrath of Khan?
Yeah.
Where the Enterprise got destroyed? No, it wasn't Wrath of Khan. It was the next one where they went back to get Spock. It was Search for Spock,
yeah.
They went back and the Enterprise got destroyed. I'm wondering if when they go at the end of this movie, if it does the same thing where all of a sudden there's the Enterprise. Because it was NCC 1701, and then there's NCC 1701A, which is another constitutional class. So I'm really hoping that that's what's going to happen. Because there again, this Enterprise still has the original engines. The ones with the like they have like this huge like nuclear room with fucking engines and shit. Like I'm hoping that we actually see that new Enterprise. Because if I remember correctly, the first Star Trek movie, that was right out because they had brought the Enterprise back. Like they had like redone the whole Enterprise. So obviously we're not going to get to that. So that means that probably what'll end up happening is they'll get this whole new Enterprise Enterprise that's up-to-date technology and everything else at the end. I'm hoping. I'm not saying that will happen, but we'll see what happens. By the way, is it just the main crew that's safe, too, in this movie? Because I'm just, like, sitting there going, so there was probably 300 people on that vessel.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
And it tears through every other, those like microbots or whatever, the nanobots. It looks like, a swarm of some things flying through space kind of tear up the ship. And, but of course we have the main crew is going to survive. Maybe somebody gets hurt, but those other 300 people, fuck them. Oh, they're all wearing red shirts, they'll fuck them. But, now earlier you had mentioned about movie theaters giving out stuff.
Yeah.
Now, when I had went to your theater, I was given like...
So you were stalking me, I see.
I was given a souvenir ticket, and it was sort of just like, it was of no value other than just being a pure like souvenir of like, you came to see the movie. But it was like a week. Actually, there was a date on the bottom of the ticket, and it was like a week after the movie actually came out.
Right.
And because I buy the ticket, and the guy kind of mumbles like, Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael. And I guess he was asking which one do I like, and I'm like, Michelangelo. I don't know. I was kind of like at a loss. And he kind of gives me like these two like souvenir tickets. I guess sort of like, hey, I went to the theater and saw these movies. And so I thought that was kind of weird. So he gave me two of them. He gave me a Michelangelo and I think a Raphael.
I mean, I don't really want to go into that on the podcast, but let's just say that my boss should have done things a little bit better and put those a little bit better. But whatever. Hey, I'm not the one in charge. So
okay, so back to the real world, and if you want to call it the real world, I've been under attack by a flying squirrel.
Yes, I've heard.
For those the people who listen to this podcast and do follow me on Facebook. I've recently moved, new apartment. So I have now in my kitchen, everywhere in my house, there's screens on all the windows, except for one of my windows in the bedroom. But one of the screens in my kitchen has been damaged. And when I say it's been damaged, and it's been lazily repaired, but one of the screens in my kitchen was kind of like looks jacked up. So it's the hot months or whatever. I leave my bedroom window open and, which is kind of stupid because bugs could fly in or whatever the case may be. And so, one day one day I'm sleeping and I hear something on my windowsill and it's like, what the fuck? And I go to look what it is, and it was a squirrel. And I said, oh shit. And I guess the squirrel, like me kind of reacting to this, the squirrel just fucking up and ran away. So I'm like, oh, okay. The fucking squirrel, came, there's a squirrel not trying to get into my window. So then, like a week later, I leave the window open, once again. The squirrel, he got into my house. I don't know if I mentioned this on the other podcast. I don't know if I mentioned this like 2 episodes ago, but so the squirrel actually got into my house. And then, because I wake up and I wake up to the sound of like scratching. Right. And at first I thought it was my neighbors. I thought my neighbors were doing, I don't know, maybe they were moving furniture or something like that, but it didn't sound like moving furniture. It was sort of like a, I'm pretty sure the microphone's going to pick that up, but it was sort of like a weird scratch. I'm like, and you're ready, and I'm already coming up from sleep, and I'm like, what the fuck is that noise? So then I go to my kitchen and I see something scamper out of the kitchen and runs into my daughter's bedroom. I'm like, oh shit. And this is a fucking squirrel. And so I go into my daughter's bedroom. I give him leeway so he could get out. He runs towards the bedroom, runs out the window. So then I go to the kitchen. I realize that son of a bitch ate my fucking bread. I had a loaf of bread. The fucking scumbag squirrel ate through the fucking side of the bag, ate my bread. And so I'm like, all right, apparently I have a squirrel problem. So I buy a screen, little cheap $10 screen, Home Depot, whatever. I'm like, all right, the fucker breaks through the screen. I leave the screen up or whatever and puts a hole through the screen. Now, mind you, he broke it. He didn't need anything this time. I buy a second screen, put the screen up. He broke it through the first screen, the second screen, and then once again, I've gotten to putting my bread in the microwave just so it stays safe, whatever. This fucker then goes and opens up a packet of like instant cocoa, like just add milk and heat up. So I go to my kitchen and there's a fucking half-opened pack of powder all over the floor. I was like, this son of a bitch. So I don't know what, and I haven't seen him since. And so I've been under fucking I've been under attack by a fucking flying squirrel, you know, and it keeps coming back, you know. So let me see what else. You know, you could sing "Happy Birthday" to me, Paul.
No,
God damn it, my birthday passed, but. Yeah, my birthday was this past week, and usually we record on Tuesdays. Tuesdays was my birthday, but we didn't. You were busy working, so unfortunately we didn't record on my birthday.
Yeah, I'll probably be working a lot.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
Because of summer months, or
yeah, well, no, I just want to get some more money because you know I want to pay some bills off and make sure that we're financially good because you know I'm the man of the house and I have to do those kinds of things. Actually, probably Kelsey would tell me not to, but you know whatever.
And okay, so the day before my birthday, they had opened this up recently up here, and I wanted to give it a shot. I went to the Dave & Buster's up here.
Yeah, I saw that.
They opened up a Dave & Buster's here in the Marketplace Mall, which is, you know, let's be real, Marketplace Mall is the ghetto mall in the city. There's,
well,
you know,
okay, so it used to not be the ghetto mall. It used to be the one Greaser's actually used to be. Once they put the curfew in place, everybody came back to that mall because, you know, then we didn't have to deal with anything. Because really what happens is if something happens at that mall, and a lot of people that listen from Rochester, you probably don't know this, but it's what happens in that mall is these idiots will go up on Facebook or social media and be like, oh, we're going to have a fight at the center of the mall by the food court. And they're not realizing that Greece Police Department, the Rochester City Police Department, pretty much all of the police departments in Monroe County are watching this, are watching all the social medias. So somehow they see it because some idiot has opened up their shit.
They're advertising that they're going to have a fight in the food court.
And then, like, 2 seconds later, as they form a group and they're about to fight, it's already broken up. So, I mean, you know, anybody that thinks that there's still problems at Greaser's, you're a fucking idiot, first of all. Second of all, you gotta pay attention, because there's no problems at Greaser's. There's no problems at Eastview yet, but there again, Eastview's all the way out.
Yeah, so Eastview's out in the nice part of town. You know, I used to work out in Eastview, and it's funny because it's so far out in the suburbs that you got, and then, now mind you, once you get past the suburbs, then it gets fucking very country and rural.
Right.
So when I used to work out in Eastview Mall, and I'm just, you know, just announcing that for our listeners, for the 99% of the people who don't live in Rochester. So like I said, it's really nice, you know, really around the mall, it's suburban. And then further out, it's country. Right. I mean, you know, there's a segment on the radio show I listen to here in Rochester, the Brother We Show. On Tuesday, I have a segment called the Redneck News, and it's all the news that happens out, and they call it, you know, the 315 Wayne County. That area is all, you know, for all intents and purposes, the redneck area.
Right.
So, all the customers I always dealt with were people who were either, you know, more money than they fucking know what to do with, or people that were fucking dirt poor, that, like, you know, the mall was the closest thing to them that, you know, would, you know, that was even any kind of civilization, you know what I'm saying? Other than going to Walmart, they would come to the mall. And it's funny because it's, you know, the Eastview Mall is a high-end mall, and I used to work at the Radio Shack at that mall. And both when it was still inside the mall and when they moved it across the street. And it was so funny because, like, at that particular time, we were really pressured to sell, like, cell phones and, you know, getting people on cell phone plans. But the people who live out in the fucking sticks, the only service they get is Verizon. And at that particular time, we weren't carrying Verizon at Radio Shack. So, like, you know, do you want a phone? Yeah, I got a phone. You got Verizon? No. So it was, you know, and it's so weird, you know, up here, you know, you would think upstate New York, but these are fucking full-blown rednecks that, you know, when people think of, like, southern country fucking rednecks, no, they live up here in New York State also. Up here in northern, western New York, they might as well be from down south. So, I mean, the rednecks, I'm not insulting people from down south.
Yes, you are.
But, okay, so, but at your mall, there were people protesting, you go first, or me go first, or
me before you.
Me before you.
So these idiots,
it's about it's with the girl who plays Khaleesi in Game of Thrones. And she plays a woman that's, if I understand correctly, I could be wrong. And Amelia Clarke is fucking gorgeous. I love her. She plays a woman who's hired to be a caretaker for a gentleman who was in a wheelchair. It was I think he was like a thrill seeker kind of guy. And I think he must have, like, jumped off a cliff or jumped into water somewhere, snapped his fucking spine, and now he's in a wheelchair. So he was always a thrill seeker. And I could be wrong, so don't quote me on this. So then in the movie, he basically tells her, look, I'm in this wheelchair. My quality of life is suffering. I want to fucking kill myself. And she's already she was hired to be his caretaker. She falls in love with him, but then, he wants to fucking kill himself. So there were legions of people, the handicapped community. I'm not insulting them or any way, shape, or form. They wanted to come out and protest this movie because they think it's, they think it's insulting to say, this guy feels that, now that he's paralyzed, that he wants to kill himself. It's like insulting to the community. So you had an experience where they were actually coming out to.
So what happened was I've worked in the business for a long time. I've never had this happen before.
You were given a heads up that they were coming.
So I was working a Friday morning, and all of a sudden the security guard comes down, and he's looking at the film. He's looking at the thing. So I'm like, okay, he's probably just gonna come and see a film later. So I went up to him and asked him what he was doing, and he's like, "Is there a film that somebody kills himself in?" And I'm like, or suicide or something. I'm like, the only thing I could think of maybe is that Me Before You. And he's like, well, we kind of got a report that there's going to be some protesters here. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I didn't hear anything about this, but okay. Mm-hmm. So, I'm still, doing my thing as usual. And all of a sudden I start seeing these handicapped people, disabled people showing up in these pink shirts that say not dead yet. So I guess there's a group in Rochester called Not Dead Yet. And they're all disabled people and all that. And for a while, the security was just keeping them outside because per law you're not allowed to protest in the mall. You can protest out front of the mall, mm-hmm. on the sidewalk, on the public sidewalk, but you cannot do it in the mall. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know what happened because these all of a sudden 15 minutes before the movie started, 5 of them were allowed to come in. There was 3 security guards with them and they're handing out pamphlets. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at these security guards what the fuck are you doing? Why are you letting these people...
It's probably to appease, giving a little, you know what I'm saying? Instead of totally kicking, because if you kick a bunch of handicapped people out of your mall, that's bad publicity.
Well, they were out front of one of the entrances with a sign apparently too. Mm-hmm. So I mean, they got a little bit of their way, but once the movie started, they were
it's bad publicity to kick handicapped people out. Go on, I'm sorry.
But I mean, it was really nerve-wracking because I'm trying to take care of people, and here are these 5 people in front of the. Granted, that's in the mall, but they're in front of my movie theater, and I'm just like, go away. I'm not trying to be mean. I understand where you guys are coming from, but I'm not one of those people that's like, fuck you. You can't, mm-hmm. You can't protest. But it was just so nerve-wracking. It was so distracting, and I'm just like, I've never experienced that before. I've never had somebody try come to my movie theater and protest. I've worked at a couple different movie theaters, and I've never had somebody. It was to the point where I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna call all the other theaters in the area and tell them, mm-hmm. which I did, because I'm like, I'm not gonna be putting myself in that position.
And it did make the local news. Now here's my connection to it. So, obviously I've been talking about just the last episode we did together, I had named OK Stupid as for OkCupid, me and my dating site trials and tribulations. So, of course, dating sites, you go and you look at people's profiles, and there is a girl who's in a wheelchair. And so, she puts, her profile has her in the wheelchair and everything like that. So, out of curiosity, you know what I'm saying? I'm not, I'm open-minded enough, I'll fuck, crippled, blind, and crazy, you know what I'm saying? My penis doesn't discriminate. So, I'm looking up her profile, and she had put links, she had put a link to her YouTube page because she had did a whole video on how not to approach a girl in a wheelchair, stuff that she's heard a million fucking times and, mm-hmm. and stuff like that. So, and this is like an educated, she's educated. I think she has a law degree and whatever. And she puts out, she makes these videos. So, obviously on the dating site, the dating site does kind of let you know if the person's been active recently. So apparently, when I was looking at her profile, let's just say I was looking at her profile at 10 o'clock at night. She was active around 7 o'clock in the afternoon, in the evening. Mm-hmm. So I go and I look, and she has a link to her YouTube page, and she has a link to a couple other, because she says I'm for disabled rights and all this other stuff, and she has links to her social media. So, and of course, me being the guy that I am, you're gonna click the links and stuff like that. You're doing your homework, not stalking, doing your homework.
That's what you call it these days, okay?
But on her YouTube videos, all right. So she has a link to that. But then I said, okay, let's see what other videos she has. And then she has like a video that was literally posted maybe two or 3 days earlier, where she's, and I guess it's like I guess at the M&M store in Manhattan, like there's a store for M&Ms where they sell like M&M merchandise. I guess they have like a photo booth. It's like a video photo booth, and you could, I guess you can, it'll do a video of you and somebody, and you could send it to your YouTube page or whatever. So there's a video of her kissing the guy, and this video was posted like 3 days earlier, yet she's still active on the dating site. And so I had sent her a message. I said, look, I don't know if you know this, but you put a link to your YouTube page, but there's another video of you kissing the guy, but you're still active on the site. Just giving you a heads up. If I could find this, anybody, other people could find it. So, and I don't know if that guy you're kissing would be too happy knowing that you're still active on a dating site. I mean, of course, like I said, it's none of my business. It's still the beginning of, it could be the beginning of her relationship with that guy, and they haven't promised each other anything. But I'm like, if I could fucking find this, you could find it also. Other people could find it also. So you may want to, put a check in that. So
don't be a douche.
So that's my little connection to the, and then in her social media, she had put like a link to the, and I think she was one of the people there at the protest, because she's like, oh, and she put a link to the same link that you put to the, where the run of the Rochester's local papers, the Democrat and Chronicle, where there was an article about them doing the protest. And then the sad thing is when you see the picture in the Democrat and Chronicle, all these people, they're protesting like on that little teeny tiny strip of street, which is like it's like the end of the parking lot, but not and there's a major road there. So it's like this little thin fucking strip of land, which nobody walks on. Like only, everybody, the whole area is in cars, but I guess technically if you had to walk, you can walk there. And I guess they're protesting. And I guess with all the cars driving by and you're holding signs, I mean, I guess you will have a lot of people see you, but that picture just looks sad. So once again, I went to Dave & Buster's, and I don't know, it's a small Dave & Buster's. It wasn't as big as the other ones I've been to, in the the one I went to in the Marketplace Mall. But Jesus Christ, are they breaking your fucking pockets, man? I probably, between me and my daughter, I spent like $28, because they have like, oh, get the the $10 pack, and then with $2 extra, you got a bonus extra points. And then you got to swipe the cards to go. It's these fucking things. They that's how they fuck you. Because why can't you just use quarters like every other fucking arcade on the planet? Right. No, you have to have a card and you get credits and all this other bullshit. And so I must have spent like $28 between me and my daughter. And and then you swipe a card, and like let's just say for the $28, between her and I, we both got 56 credits on our card or some ridiculous thing like that. And you go and you play a game. Now don't be wrong, they have they have these big games that you could sit in. Like I guess like if you were gonna pay money, you'd probably pay like $2-3 to fucking play. Right. Ghostbusters. Transformers, like the Michael Bay Transformers movie. They had this one where it's sort of like a shooting game where you're shooting zombies, but they got like fans and stuff like that. And like when the zombies pop out, the fans kind of like blow a burst of air at you. So it kind of, adds a little, I mean, these are really complicated, big, beautiful games, but you're playing them and they cost like 10 credits, 15 credits or whatever. And like I'm doing the math, I'm like, they're charging you a lot of fucking money to play these games. Which I mean, I guess like I said, they would be $2-3 anyway. But Jesus Christ, the Dave & Buster's break my fucking pockets that day, And I'm with my daughter, and of course, she'll want to play a game, and if it's too hard or whatever, then she'll just like want to walk away. I'm like, I just paid $3 for that fucking game. You're gonna play it. If you're not gonna play it, I'm gonna fucking play it. So and they had like Luigi's Mansion, and it was like kind of like back to back. I didn't play the Star Wars one, but it's like when you're sitting and there's like the screen is like this big like bubble in front of you, and it's supposed to be like you're in a jet. And then the opposite one they had was Star Wars, where you're like in a TIE fighter or X-Wing or whatever, and it's kind of like this wraparound thing where it kind of like takes up your whole field of vision. I mean, it looked beautiful, but Jesus Christ, so they're fucking breaking your pockets there. So let me see. So with that, we'll be back with more dick and fart jokes.
This episode of Two Strangers, One Podcast is brought to you by Comics Etc., 1115 East Main and North Goodman at the Hungerford Building, door number 8. Find out more information at comicsetc.biz or like them on Facebook at facebook.com/comicsetc1.
Click and Hit, enhancing the experience for all recreational smokers.
Click and Hit is a one-handed portable vaporizer. This smoking pipe has a compact 4-stage design, complete with a built-in, windproof, butane refillable torch lighter. The large burn chamber holds your stash of legal herb or pipe tobacco. Click the button to ignite and inhale as usual. When you are done, put it back in your pocket for later. Smoke anytime with the touch of a button. No more carrying around grinders and tins. You can leave the pipe, rolling papers, and even your lighter at home. The Click and Hit cordless vaporizer is no bigger than a normal cigar, making it the world's smallest and most discreet vaporizer. It's perfect for use in small places or shared rooms. It's efficient, getting 5 to 8 draws from your packed chamber. It's affordable at just $19.95 each. Buy 3 and the shipping is free. Buy 4 and you get the 5th one free. Visit www.click-n-hit.com. That's clickandhit.com. And now for listeners of Two Strangers One Podcast, you can use promo code STRANGERS and receive 10% off your purchase at clickandhit.com. That's promo code STRANGERS for 10% off your purchase. And we're back. Okay, so of all the movies, of all the nerdy stuff we were talking about earlier, the one thing that I didn't mention, which I guess we can talk about now, XMen Apocalypse.
Yes.
I actually saw it. I think I saw it last week before. I think I even saw it. No, I saw it before Ninja Turtles. But I guess you finally got a chance to see it. Mm-hmm. So we could talk about it now. One, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I think it's so weird. A lot of people are bashing it, but I think it's the best of the 3 movies. First Class.
That trilogy, I would say it's the most. It's the best. It's probably it's the solid movie. Like it's definitely, if you're an X-Men fan, this is exactly what you want to see. I would say just to go a step further, I would say that it is. Let me think about this. It is like, it's while it is like an X-Men movie. I don't think that there was really anything like shitty about it. Like this is definitely going with what your core X-Men are. Now, like I said to you before the podcast, my only problem is you've kind of set yourself into a Wolverine that's been established. Mm-hmm. So by putting this Wolverine back in there, now this man is going to be established into your universe. So now you got to figure that out. Because people are, let's face it, they're going to do another X-Men movie, which I will give props to Fox. Mm-hmm. They're good at the X-Men movie and they're good at Deadpool. Mm-hmm. You might as well keep those 2 franchises as long as you can. Now, on top of that, I would like you to let Marvel have a little bit of it so that they can go into the other universe, even though you kind of fucked that up with Age of Ultron, but, I think that, they're definitely moving in the right direction with this. Now, that said, it's just like, I can see why some people might be like, but it's a good movie.
Obviously, the drawbacks, did they fuck up Apocalypse's powers? Yes, they fucked up, they fucked up his powers. Here you go, you have like this ultimate all-powerful fucking mutant, the father of all mutants, yet he's been gone for he gets locked away under a fucking pyramid or whatever, and he's, and all of a sudden he's gone for fucking, a couple thousand years. If he was so powerful, he would have woken up a lot earlier. Yes, did he look silly? Yes. He looked like Ivan Ooze? Absolutely. Not as bad as he did in the beginning. But, there were a whole bunch of links online.
He didn't look like Ivan Ooze, so to speak. I get where they're coming from, but it wasn't as bad as what it was. But I think the way that I thought about it was, this isn't the Apocalypse that was in the actual comics, but I think that this made more sense from a realistic stance.
What I liked is that they did kind of try to fill in a lot of loops, or they took a lot of stray ends and they kind of try to bring it back to Apocalypse, like with his powers, like in this one, he goes, he goes from body to body, and each body he gets, he accumulates another mutant's powers. And, the one thing that they never really, like if you look, he has these kind of like mechanical fucking wires and shit hanging from the back of his head. He kind of has like this tubing or whatever the fuck you want to call it, hanging from his head. And not for nothing, if you look at that, at first I was like, oh, that looks stupid. But then you realize that's sort of like the equivalent to Professor X's Cerebro thing. It looks like the Cerebro helmet, just sort of, if it happened over time and evolution or whatever, it's sort of his version of, the Cerebro helmet, except he wears it all the time. Or maybe that's part of him. Maybe that wiring is him. Maybe that's a biological, biomechanical thing or whatever. But like stuff like that, that was one thing that I wish they didn't really push, but that's kind of what I caught, because when you see Professor X put on the helmet, he kind of looks like a different version of Apocalypse. It is sad when you see, like, there was a company that was trying to get, these, when they make these movies, they hire out to companies. There are a bunch of makeup effects companies or a bunch of computer effects companies that work in Hollywood that are like individually owned companies. And then a studio goes, okay, we'll hire you to do the makeup for X-Men. So there was a company that was rejected, and what happens is, I guess they go and they did a molding of Oscar Isaac's face, and they kind of gave it to all these companies and, okay, show us what you got. And there was a company that had with Oscar Isaac's face, where he looks like the more traditional Apocalypse that we know from, let's not fucking mince words. I know Apocalypse more from the cartoon than the fucking comics. In the 90s, and as much as I call myself a comic book nerd, in the 90s, even back then, I wasn't much of a Marvel person, only because, like, the Marvel stories just get fucking ridiculous, and not that there's anything wrong with that, because for some people that's their thing, they get, but especially in the 90s when like the collecting boom became a real thing, like, it was hard to keep track of everything. So, with this was obviously, my knowledge of Apocalypse comes more from the 90s cartoon. And I think it's safe to say that, because with these movies, okay, this movie's in the 80s. The movie before that was like, 1969. The movie before that, all like these movies kind of jump a decade every movie. So the next obvious logical step that all the nerds are hoping for or clamoring for is that the next movie will now be in the 90s and will probably, especially with the way they're going, will resemble heavily the 90s cartoon that we all, the people of our generation grew up with, I'm the juggernaut, bitch. So I think, are they going with that direction? It certainly seems that way. My couple little complaints. Okay, the Beast looks stupid. Beast up and down looked fucking dumb. The makeup on him looked horrible. But they had to use less. But they said they wanted to use less makeup because they wanted to show his face. You wanted to have him emote more.
Part of the problem that I guess they ran into, part of the thing that, and I agree, that's kind of like an issue, was the whole thing about what is it? I'm trying to think here.
Professor X, Magneto.
No, it was Beast, and then it was also what's her name there?
Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence. A lot of people had a problem because this was 10 years later and they didn't age them up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I can understand that, but, there's nothing I could say about that. I guess that's probably my only drawback in the movie. Like, I agree with that.
When you're a mutant, you age slower. I don't know. I'm just saying, there's, if you could turn blue, I guess you could also not age. Well, at least Mystique could get away with old. Beast, I don't know, or at least make a comment like, "Oh, I've been taking care of myself. I've been, I've been, doing my training and doing my vitamins, eating my vegetables." Jennifer Lawrence, of course, when these movies first started, it was before Jennifer Lawrence was a household name. So now, there's more of her without the makeup, I guess she's like, look, I'm only going to do this movie if I don't have to fucking spend every second of it and fucking painted head to bottom, in blue. So, I think she did, and you know what? I get it. You want to see more of the star. She's got that power. If she doesn't want to be blue, she doesn't have to be blue. And it's, so I get that, I loved, of course, the Quicksilver scene was pretty funny. I don't know why you give a dog a fucking slice of pizza when he's running, that was cute. I liked Storm in this movie. One thing I gotta say, there was a big push. I saw, even there was a commercial before the movie, and then actually right before the actual physical movie started, there was a thing thank you for coming out to the theaters, and thank you for not watching this on bootleg. And there was a huge right before the movie, there was the girl who played Storm, where she sits there and she goes, hundreds if not thousands of people put their time and energy into making this movie, and people get paid for doing this, and we want to thank you for coming out to the theater and seeing it, and not watching it on bootleg or whatever. or I didn't, and I'm not using those. She didn't use those exact words, but that's basically what they said. Thank you for not bootlegging this movie. And even before that, like during the commercials, during the previews, there was sort of like a more polished video about that, using clips from XMen Apocalypse. Saying thank you for actually paying your fucking money instead of downloading this off of Pirate Bay or something like that. Right. So I don't know. I guess there's a big push by Fox to kind of thank you for not bootlegging our movies, which would probably be fun if you saw it on the actual bootleg. But okay, so one of the things about this movie, and once again, this shit came out like 2 weeks after the movie came out. There was a big to-do about the poster with Apocalypse choking Mystique. Oscar Isaac's character Apocalypse choking out Mystique, saying it's misogynist and it promotes domestic abuse and women abuse. And of course, one of the biggest criers, this was not an issue until Rose McGowan brought it up. And Rose McGowan is such a fucking washed up actor. And it's funny because, there was a time where I thought she was gorgeous. I mean, when she first got on the scene, and remember, her first real kind of like taste of fame was that she was dating fucking Marilyn Manson. Right. And Marilyn Manson, well, he uses violent imagery, for the lack of a better term. Not that he promotes violence against women. I think he's promoted violence in general. And then, and I think like there was a show, like she had been his date to like an award show where she was wearing like this sheer dress where she was wearing nothing to cover her nipples. I think she was just wearing a dress, but it was like all see-through, and she was wearing like just like a G-string, and you could see her nipples or whatever. And I'm like, you rose to fame being a fucking sex object. Yeah, she did. What's that show with the witches with Shannon Doherty and Alyssa Milano? Was it Charmed? Is that the name of the movie? Is that the name of the show she did? Is it Charmed?
Something like that.
Yeah, whatever. She okay, she had a little, and she did a couple of movies, but her last big movie, I guess would be the best way to put it, was Planet Terror, where she played a stripper who got her leg fucking blasted off, and then her boyfriend fucking strapped a fucking machine gun to her leg. So I'm like, any guy that would like watching Mystique getting choked out by Apocalypse is gonna love a movie about a stripper fucking getting her leg blown off and replaced with a fucking with a machine gun or whatever. So it's so weird to like say, it's so weird to think that of all people to fucking protest this movie, And this was like, I mean, she was pointing to like, I guess it was some poster or some billboard in Hollywood. I was like, billions of liberal people, Hollywood's like the heart and soul of like liberal, real sensitive fucking people. And of all, finally 2 weeks after the fucking movie comes out, Rose McGowan's the one to fucking say something about it. And I'm like, really get a fucking career, and have you seen her face? She's fucking, she does not look good. She has way too much plastic surgery. She was hot. I'm pretty sure if she left it alone, she'd probably still be hot.
That's the thing, like, I was so confused about the whole choking of the woman thing because, Chris, in my theater, there was a huge banner with him doing. Mm-hmm. Nobody complained at my movie theater once about that. Rose McGowan says something, oh, it's a big deal now. Mm-hmm. Like, shut up. Get the fuck out of here.
I'm just saying, of all people to, if it was fucking Oprah Winfrey, you know what I'm saying? If it was somebody whose career wasn't, I'm just saying, if it was somebody else, anybody else, making the argument, and I guess, and then she's like, oh, the Hollywood comic book movies are killing Hollywood, and I don't, you won't see me in them. Like she's acting like, she's like, oh, I'm not going to do any more Hollywood movies. Like, you're acting like there are people asking you to be in movies. Saying, right. The traditional Hollywood has left you behind. You're not a star anymore. You may do an independent movie here or there or whatever, but you're never going to reach the heights that you were at your highest, which weren't that high in the first place. And you're gonna fucking bitch about a poster, a billboard for a movie that was already that's been out already for 2 weeks. It's just get a fucking life. Okay, so Ninja Turtles. I guess I don't know. Was there anything else you want to talk about X-Men? No. I liked it. Like I said, I like Quicksilver. I like what they did with Storm. I liked what they did. They actually made Cyclops kind of compelling. A little bit. Cyclops was always a boring asshole. I dug it, and if I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with the 90s. I had always thought like this. I thought the movie was going to suck. I was pleasantly surprised that it didn't, and it was actually pretty good. And I liked when Apocalypse goes, "No more superpowers," and he fucking and he sends all the fucking missiles up in outer space. Spoiler. Well, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm pretty sure you've seen the movie by now. I just wanted to mention, like we were talking about earlier, Warcraft, which wasn't doing that good in the United States, is doing fucking fantastic in China. And it was sort of like when people were like, when Star Wars The Force Awakens came out, you know, they were doing good numbers and they were like, just wait till it hits China. And then in China it did fucking fantastic. You know, the movie's doing so well, and hey, money is money no matter what fucking country it comes from. Don't be surprised if we get a Warcraft 2 because it's done so well in China. And I haven't seen it yet. I want to go see it. I mean, I'm hearing like mixed reviews. I just haven't had a chance to go see it, but I'm gonna fucking go see it. So, but it's funny because, like in China, like I think we mentioned this a bunch of podcasts back. You know, they're doing product placement, and like, of course, Ninja Turtles had product placement in it, where, you know, there was like Nestle's Quick or some shit like that. And no, was it Nestle? And then there was also obviously for Crush soda, which is like had like the Crush soda actually had like the Ninja Turtles on it, like, you know, buy this 12-pack, you know, have a chance to win tickets to go see Ninja Turtles. Like, ooh, I have a chance to win a $12 prize. Thank you. But I noticed in Ninja Turtles, there was a scene where one of the turtles was drinking from that little, like, it looks like a juice box, but it's really milk. There's some sort of like big Japanese product, or Chinese, excuse me, forgive me, I don't mean to be racist. Some Chinese product that it's like milk in a fucking juice box. Right. And so, you know, I noticed that there was a little product placement in Ninja Turtles, but, you know, in Warcraft, you can't have product placement of a juice box milk. Okay. Coming soon, you know, I just mentioned the Transformers, but let's talk about a good Transformers movie. The 86 one, 1980, is finally coming to Blu-ray. They just announced it last week. I'm so excited. Now, mind you, this is a movie I have on bootleg VHS, I have on legitimate VHS, I have on DVD, I have the 20th anniversary DVD, and of course I'm going to buy it on Blu-ray. So, you know, I'm super excited about that. And of course, parents, get ready. Finding Dory comes out this weekend. So
it's gonna be a freaking mob house there.
Yeah, because kids. I mean, I don't know about the rest of the country, but kids are getting out of school next week. So between this week and next week. I mean, don't get me wrong, Pixar is fucking gangbusters. Pixar makes fantastic fucking movies. You know, just, you know what it is? I'm probably gonna take my daughter. I'm going to take my daughter. I promised I was gonna take her. But I'm gonna watch this movie like, okay, what am I gonna be reciting? You know, she's gonna, you know, when it finally hits like DVD or whatever, she's obviously gonna watch the movie fucking 800 times. You know, like I could still quote Finding Nemo, you know, shark bait, hoo ha ha. You know, so I know that's going to happen when Finding Dory comes out. So, like, you have to watch and, like, sit and watch. I'm like, okay, what am I going to be quoting a year from now when she's watched the movie for the 18th time, 19th time? I want to give a big thank you. Once again, I mentioned my birthday passed. I want to give a big thank you to Danny Duncan. For my birthday, he had actually sent me it's a thing called Iron Brew, and it's basically like it's brew, like I guess like a tea, or, you know, like sort of, I guess I'm trying to think of what the equivalent here would be, like a Nestea sort of a deal. But I don't know if it's supposed to be like an energy drink also, and I guess apparently like this is like the thing. Like if you're in Scotland, this is like the thing to drink. It's marketed towards guys. I recommend to anyone, go on YouTube and look up Iron Brew commercials, because they have like funny commercials. You know, there's like a guy and his friends come over to his house, and his mom has like really big tits, and she's like, you know, who wants a hug? And, you know, and there's like, you know, one where like a guy is like taking a shit on a train, but then the door flies open, like he can't control it. The door flies open. There's like girls looking at him take a shit or whatever, but then like, you know, and he pulls out an Iron Brew. So I'm gonna do like a proper review. I want to drink it. It's like sitting in my kitchen right now. And he's like, make sure you drink it cold. And he goes, you're gonna want more. I've only seen like one other review on YouTube about it, so someone actually drinking it. So I want to do something funny, but I have to iron out my thoughts. But look forward to that on our YouTube page. What else? I mean, we're already well into the show. I mean, obviously, the horrible tragedy that happened out in Orlando.
Yeah.
It's a fucking disgusting thing that happened.
I gotta look up the guy's name, but I really want to thank that senator. I'm gonna look up his name while we're talking, but he went on the floor of the Senate, because here's the thing: since the Republicans took over, we really haven't had like any. Ooh, wait a minute, let me look that up real quick. We haven't really had anything being done, so it's just been really sad that we haven't had anything going on with for all these years. Like no bills have really been passed, no gun legislation, nothing. So this senator basically sat on the floor. It's called a filibuster.
Yeah, the filibuster. Yeah,
and you have to literally stand there for the whole time
and keep talking.
And like he stood there. I'm trying to get his name here.
Yeah, because once you have the floor, that's why I make the joke every podcast when I acquiesce the floor to you, sir. Right. You sit there and you have to keep talking. It doesn't have to be about your topic. You can fucking sit there and pull out the fucking phone book if you wanted to. You go out there and you keep filibustering. And one thing I do have to say is that while Paul looks up this video, I have trained with the AR-15. For the people who've been following the show, I was a New York State correction officer.
His last name is Murphy. Senator Murphy. I'm trying to get his first name here. So basically, the two measures, because he did this, that they're bringing up, is to ban people on the terrorist watch list from getting firearms, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And look, I understand that there's people out there that go, well, wait a minute, Paul. There are thousands of people that get put on that list that aren't terrorists. Well, too bad. Guess what? I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to take anybody's guns away. That's what I don't want people to think when I bitch about guns that I want to take your guns away. I don't care. If you responsibly use your gun, why am I talking to you then? I'm not talking to you. You're not a terrorist. Matter of fact, you're trying to defend yourself against a terrorist, or you're trying to hunt to get food for your family. Why am I going to sit there and say, guess what? You can't have your guns. No, I'm not going to do that. What I'm talking about is these fucking idiots that come on, that can go out and buy this. And actually, not to interject something into this, I want you to, I'm going to put this video up, with your permission. I'm going to put up the two videos up on Two Strangers social media, if that's okay.
Okay.
One of them is this video from the Huffington Post that I'm looking at, about the senator standing on the floor getting the filibuster. But there's also another video, and it's interesting. And Obama, like, literally, this was like Obama being like, uncensored, basically. He didn't swear or anything, but a guy had asked him at this PBS thing. It was like a couple days before the shooting in Orlando. And he asked him, he said, why are you trying to take our guns away, blah, 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 blah. And Obama just, like, went in and said, look, I just came from the... Well, he talked about a whole bunch of things, but he says, I went into the Situation Room today, and they told me that anybody that's even on the terrorist watch list, interesting about this, terrorist watch list can go and buy a gun still, no matter what, but they're on the terrorist watch list, or they were on the terrorist watch list. And I can't do anything about it. By the way, he also says that they can't even do... Congress will not allow him, not just him, but, in general, in the United States of America, we're not allowed to go do a study on gun violence. We're not allowed to go do, a study for the mentality of somebody that uses a gun or went up and shot up a school. You know why we can't do that? Because Congress won't let us.
Yeah, because the NRA...
Right, and that's what he said. The NRA won't let them do it.
And people, and trust me, I'm not bashing the NRA, but there are people, unfortunately, the NRA whose intentions are good also kind of attract the mentality of people that are fucking nuts, and will go through incredible lengths to keep, and it's sad because, I support the Second Amendment. But then again, my situation is a little unique because I was raised in a home. My father had guns in the house. My father raised me with a healthy respect for weapons.
I'm gonna actually put that up on the Facebook page right now.
Yeah, my dad. I remember the smell of gun oil in my house. I remember my dad cleaning his weapons. I remember my dad taking me to the gun range when I was young. I was raised with a healthy respect for guns. And then when I went to the academy, when I was 22 years old, I went to the academy here in Albany to become a New York State correction officer, and I was given, proper training. And, it's so weird, when you go and you actually, and I trained in the AR-15, the weapon that was used. It's so weird when now there were guys from New York State. Once again, I mentioned earlier in this episode, there are guys here in New York State that are straight up fucking country, redneck, good old boys. And I'm sorry if the word redneck offends anybody, but I can't think of a more proper word. And it's funny because they had to be retrained on how to use a rifle and retrained on how to use a shotgun because unfortunately they were trained from grandpappy and when they used to go hunting when they were younger and they don't know how to properly handle these weapons. I was from fucking birth. I was raised to have respect for weapons. And unfortunately, it literally is like the fucking wild, wild west out there. People aren't given training. People aren't given proper, you go for your hunting license. Yeah, you sit through a fucking little bullshit safety class and that's about it, and they make the class easy because fucking these dumb fucks, these guys, it doesn't take a fucking brain surgeon to get your fucking hunting license. They purposely make it easy because if you made it hard, then no one would have a fucking hunting license. It is, unfortunately, our standards for purchasing these weapons are so ridiculously low. And I'm not saying stupid people shouldn't have weapons because there are stupid people out there who have good intentions, right. And I'm not trying to fucking disparage anybody's lifestyle, but I'm for responsible gun ownership. Not everyone is fucking responsible. And people, I don't think some people grasp the weight and heaviness of owning a weapon, owning something that can fucking destroy a life, can destroy many lives in just a matter of seconds, and of course, having such accessibility when you're, with someone who, when someone who can be pissed off. And you know what? Yes, I could take my car and drive into a crowd of people. But you know what? To get my car, I had to get a license to get my car. I had to sit through a fucking 5-hour class. I have to renew that license every couple of years. I have to pay insurance on my car. So yes, our gun, and I was watching the thing with, gun deaths are comparable to car deaths. Yeah. And a car is a thing that takes repeated renewals, repeated, you have to keep an update. And of course, nowadays, your license, you have to go back for like another 10 years, but still, it's 10 years. It takes training. It takes insurance, and I know we mentioned that a long time ago, buying, gun owners insurance or something like that. There is a heavy weight of responsibility, to use the nerd, they use the Peter Parker term, great power comes great responsibility. Having a gun, having a fucking semi-automatic rifle is a fucking heavy responsibility. It's a heavy power. It should come with a lot of responsibility as opposed to, hey, I got $700 and no criminal record. That's all it takes nowadays. $700 and no criminal record, and you could buy a fucking AR-15. Yep. And you take someone in the wrong mentality. You take someone filled with rage. You take someone who unfortunately, has been brainwashed by fucking religion, or someone who's ideological. And of course, that's a hard thing to weed out, religion and stuff like that. But it's dangerous how easily available these high-powered weapons are. I don't know. I kind of have to. I feel like we have to wrap this up.
Yeah, we do. But we'll talk about this a little bit more on the next podcast too.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go into for a preview. I mean, I'll probably be talking about this more on Tsunami Faithful podcast. But
I just think it should. It should be harder to get a fucking gun. It really, in my opinion.
Look, okay. I understand people want to have guns. I get it. I understand. But if you're doing it responsibly, and that's what we're trying to do, we're trying to update the responsibility in our day and age of gun use, then you as a responsible gun owner should understand this and be okay with us doing this.
Yeah.
If you're not, then you're not listening. You're not seeing. I mean, I hate to go to the extreme, but do I have to kill one of your kids for you to understand what gun safety is? Well, I mean, that's how serious this is. My kid could walk into his school in the middle of the country right now. I'm not going to say what school he goes to, but he could walk into that elementary school. Some crazed parent could come in with an AR-15 and shoot up the school and kill my kid. That's a reality. That's a fucking reality. And I mean, don't get me wrong. They have safety procedures at these schools where you have to buzz in, blah, blah, blah. Like my son's school, you buzz in, you go into the breezeway, but then in the breezeway is a door to the office. So you have to go through the office and to go into the school. So for me, this makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, why not have the rules?
Yeah, my thing is that if you look, and these people, they point out Sandy Hook, the Pulse Club, when you mentioned like the theater in Aurora. Now, the theater in Aurora is just a tad bit different, but okay, when you talk about a dance club, you're talking about a place where, a lot of clubs have some sort of bouncer at the door making sure weapons aren't let in. You talk, Sandy Hook is it's a suburban school, where the kids got shot. Aurora, where the guy shot when they went to go, Batman, The Dark Knight Rises, when the kid shot up the theater. Once again, that was a suburban movie theater. These are places where people feel, your guard is down, and weapons are brought to a place that for all intents and purposes was supposed to be a safe place. A club is supposed to be a safe place. A school is definitely supposed to be a safe place. A movie theater, people don't, you don't usually think of someone coming into a movie theater, shooting people. These are all safe places. And imagine any place where people congregate. Not to turn it, nerdy or whatever, or pointing towards it. What if you go to Comic-Con? Comic-Con's supposed to be, a safe place. There's people there with fake weapons, but, what if someone fucking, try to walk into Comic-Con with fucking an AR-15 or something like that?
That's going to be what's going to happen next, unfortunately.
It's, anywhere where people gather in large groups. They were talking about, there was kind of people speculating that they were going to go to there's a place, Disney something, where it's sort of like an amusement park. It's not like a full on Disney, but it's sort of like a Disney experience. But you could get in and there's no checks in there. Right. Someone could get in there, and people from around the world are visiting and could be harmed by automatic weapons. It's ridiculous. Right. But you know what? Let's wrap it up. That's what she said. Please visit twostrangersonePodcast.net, where you can find all things show related. You can find the links to our iTunes page, where if you have an iPhone, an iPad, or iPod, you can subscribe to us and listen to about the last 3 years, not 4, because the older episodes we've taken down only because we've run out of server space. But you can listen to pretty much the last 3 years of Two Strangers One Podcast. If you don't have an iPhone, an iPad, or iPod, you can subscribe to us on the Stitcher app. That's STITCHER. What I like about Stitcher is that while you're in a Wi-Fi spot, you're at your public library, or you're at home, you can download the episodes to your phone, put it on the listen later option and the available offline option, download them all there, and then while you're out and about, you don't have to kill your data, you don't have to kill your battery, and you can listen to subscribe. You can subscribe to episodes, download episodes, and as soon as episodes are available, they will automatically download to your device, pretty much your cell phone. Yeah, nobody really has like an iPod Touch anymore.
No. There's no sense in having it.
Yeah, and so I'm just saying. So if you have any of those devices, if you have an Android device, you can download us there, or to your tablet, or whatever the case may be, on the Stitcher app. STITCHER. Please follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/twostrangersonepodcast. Like and subscribe. Like the page. If you like this episode, please share us. Share us on your page. Like us on your page. Anyway helps the show. We need your money. We want your money. But if you can't do that, the least you can do is share us on your Facebook.
Give it to Chris Cologne's Poor Fund.
The whole fucking world is on Facebook, so you can do it there. We're on Twitter at Two Strangers One Podcast. We're on Twitter at Stranger Podcast. Now, I had mentioned Oscar has come out of the hiding, and he's reached out, and he was
again. Oh my god!
Yeah, he's come out of the blue, and he said, and I had mentioned this the last episode. He goes, "Of course, those girls deleted their accounts because of you. Looking at your beard, anybody would run and hide. They probably joined the witness protection program. The fact that you've ever gotten pussy is amazing."
Wow. Damn, dude.
And then he goes, here, I have an idea. How about a blind school or institution? And he goes, but then they fill your enormous head and fill that awful beard. So Oscar is still sending us love. Thank you, Oscar. I appreciate it.
Love?
It's love. It's love. If he's gone through, if it pushes him enough to write us, then to me that's
I don't know about
it's
that.
Good enough for me.
Okay.
And so you can write to us at twostrangersonepodcast@gmail.com. That's all spelled out, twostrangersonepodcast@gmail.com.
And apparently harass us.
And feel free to harass. I'd love to have more harassment by more of our listeners. Let me see. I can't think of it. Okay. Oh, and also go on YouTube for the episodes that you can't get, or if you want to see my stranger vlogs, you go on YouTube and search for Two Strangers One Podcast or Stranger Vlog. I'm gonna do a proper Stranger Vlog to review that Iron Brew that came all the way from Scotland. Get in my belly, and so just go and actually those videos actually do help support the show, because I'm not telling you to click and like. I'm not telling you to click on the advertisers. But if you happen to watch those videos and you click on those advertisers, that money goes towards the show. So that's one quick and easy way for you to support the show, by watching those videos and clicking on the ads. But I'm not telling you to click on ads. If you want to, it would definitely help the show. And I can't think of anything else. I acquiesce the floor to you, sir.
All right, so you can find me on Twitter at Paul Pascrillo, and you can find me on Instagram, instagram.com/Paul Pascrillo, and also you can ask me questions, ask.fm/Paul Pascrillo. So that's pretty much it. Oh, and you can find my link to Voltron on geekyinc.com. Go there and you can look at that review.
Yeah. Paul's review for the new Voltron Netflix series, which you haven't gotten to because I want to watch it before we talk about it in depth. But Paul's website, Geeky Inc. GeeKeinc.com. And is that it?
That's it.
We certainly hope you guys enjoyed listening and had as much fun as we did recording. Thank you for listening to Two Strangers One Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Paul.
Don't be a stranger.
Peace. We're out.
Bye. You should be fapping.
All right, here we go, man. Go ahead. You want to read
Double
it?
Jackpot.
What is it?
It is a self-published book by Christopher Cologne.
Chris Cologne? Smells good to me.
But
look at her. That broke that fucking cold little exterior. He's like, hee.
But it is spelled Colon.
Him punny.
But Double Jackpot is a book about a comic book artist, Eric, who is in a loveless relationship with a materialistic
I feel you, Eric.
Lynette.
Oh, fucking. Are you sure I didn't write this? Sounds hauntingly familiar.
He starts cheating on his girlfriend with a more creatively supportive woman, Nadia.
Well, I got to meet her. Where's the Nadia?
There's your summer girlfriend.
Summer Nadia is Nadia.
Nadia?
Yeah, I think Nadia spelled with an A.
All right.
Both Lynette and Nadia play the double jackpot, the largest payout in lotto history, much like the recent Powerball. Both girls play his birth date as the winning numbers. Eric is now stuck between two of the country's richest women. Who will he choose? It's not that simple. This is a clever fucking idea, man.
Is.
Look at her, fucking. She's impressed.
I am.
She got some summer reading. Christopher Cologne smells real lovely with an original idea. This is. I've never heard this before.
I haven't either. This is a self-published book, much in the indie spirit as Kev's Clerks.
Oh, you don't even need to name check me. This is just a good idea. You could stand on your own, man. You don't even have to be like, hey, remember Clerks? This is nothing like that. This is way more original than Clerks. This is a good idea, man. Why didn't I think of this?
I need something to read. This book is part of the Comic Books, Heavy Metal, Video Games Trilogy Book 2. Odd I See, A Tale from the Road, coming soon.
Right on, man. It's part of a trilogy. This is the first part.
Way to write, man.
He's seeking a literary agent. Motherfuckers, anybody out there? There ain't no literary agents listening to the show. I assure you, sure. Sure. I assure you, sure. But somebody know a literary agent? Hook a motherfucker up! Chris Cologne come up with an original idea. I should tell Raskin. That's a good fucking idea, to be honest with you. That's a fucking rom-com right there. Megan, get Raskin on the phone. Isn't it possible to get Raskin on the phone? No?
Yeah.
I want to run it past him, man. I want to, and if it happens, I get a taste, Chris Cologne. I get a whiff, if you will.
The book could also be ordered on www.lulu.com.
That's lulu.com.
I understand that. I just want to spell it out.
Normally one says it that spells it. Still, lulu.com. What is that? Do you know what it is?
I don't know. All right. The book could also be ordered on www.lulu.com. Search for Double Jackpot Christopher Cologne. A paperback version of the book is $15 and a PDF file is only $5.
$5 is insanely inexpensive. 15's not even that bad for a paperback version.
No.
This is $1 million idea right here. Like a movie about a dude who fucking is stuck between two chicks, both of who play his birthday and win the lottery. Come on! I can see that trailer. Chris Cologne is on to something. Nobody else can smell it but me.
I'll read it.
Thank you. I'm going to make that smelly joke.
I know. You're trying to get me to laugh again.
It worked once. Double Jackpot is a self-published book by Chris Cologne, man. It's the first book in his Comic Books, Heavy Metal, Video Games trilogy. Book 2, Odd I See, A Tale from the Road, should be coming out soon. Get all the information at Chris Cologne, like a motherfucker.
I will
his
totally
book,
read this.
Double Jackpot. I'm serious. I'm going to recommend that to fucking Raskin. How is that not a movie? You know what I'm saying? This could be a sexy movie. You could do an R-rated version. There could be nudity in it, and you could show them fucking both chicks. Maybe a little penetration. Maybe a butthole shot. No butthole, no care.
I would like to formally apologize to Christopher Cologne.
No, sex sells. Chris Cologne will appreciate that. He's like, thanks for throwing a few buttholes in there, man.
Don't forget to check out twostrangersonePodcast.net, your one-stop resource for everything show-related. You can find links to subscribe to us on iTunes or on Stitcher. You could also find links to buy my book, Double Jackpot, on twostrangersonepodcast.net.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. And fuck you, I'm out.